Deepwoken is a game full of dynamic gameplay that you can change in a second, and if you make one mistake or misstep, boom, you're at a disadvantage, but that's what makes it fun, right? What's up guys, it's Punchy, and today we're going to talk about style bending in Deepwoken, which of course I'll explain. In UFC and MMA, there is a fighter titled the Stylebender who makes use of a bunch of dynamic martial arts, and this is pretty similar. In video games, we love different gameplay, and it's actually exciting when somebody does something different during a fight, and that being said, is there any type of gameplay that forces both players to react to a style change in Deepwoken? In the game we all know and love, most weapons that offer a two-handed stance also allow the player to use a one-handed stance. With different animations, different swing speed, and different posture damage, gameplay switches up when handling a weapon using a different stance. This feature is pretty cool and honestly very unique, but 90% of the time you stick with a single stance and you never change off of it. If you're a two-handed player, it's almost unnecessary to switch to the less used and I think worse one-handed stance, and this is a shame. Following this, let me talk about a few different legendary weapons that actually offer different gameplay with these stances. The curved blade of winds, for example, has two totally separate crits, animations, and gameplay when switching your stance, and being able to learn how to play from distance or immediately close the gap is awesome for dynamic gameplay. A better example of a missed opportunity is with the Ignition Deep Crushers. So basically with this weapon, there are two different models that people rarely experience, and this is sad. It's a shame because with this weapon that has a special style changing animation, like it's supposed to be changed, I rarely see this happen in combat. The club or mace mode does way more damage and it places metal rods on players. The sword mode swings faster, does substantially less damage, and it does not place rods. So I mean, I see why people don't want to switch. Using fist weapons, we switch our styles freely, but it does not force the user to adapt. With this fighting style, I have 100% control over my actions, but that is not as dynamic as, it could be. For example, let me explain a talent which forces both players to change their entire gameplay if they want to take advantage of the situation. Emperor Flame, a talent that adds up flame stacks and provides an explosive flourish on hit. Immediately, as soon as the fire cloak pops up, the attacker is going to want to attack while the defender tries to avoid this explosion at all costs. This single event pops up during a fight and is very dynamic because both players have to deal with this if they want to take advantage. For the Deepwoken weapon contest, I made a dynamic fire axe that transitioned between styles or modes based on how players fought. Based on the number of hits, crits landed, and posture breaks, this weapon would forcibly switch between stances, and yes, it's less consistent for combat, but it would force players to change up their entire gameplay pretty often. Each mode had upsides and downsides or attributes that the others did not, and you would have to earn each of these stances. So far, the closest weapon we have in Deepwoken that forces dynamic gameplay is single-handed guns, and in my opinion, if you think single-handed guns will ever be as good as spears or swords, they just cannot be because it's dynamic and it's not going to be consistent. Regardless, this is probably the most fun I've had in all of Deepwoken because I get to earn my damage and I get to switch between a low bullet count and melee combat instantly, which is so much fun. Sure, if you want, you can play single guns at max ammo the entire fight, but I think that's not what it's all about. The bullets do more damage with larger range, but if you burn those shots and switch to the melee pistol whips, both players have to fight differently. The good part about this is we don't get to choose the style we want, and the gun user earns those bullets and they feel satisfied, and their opponent feels like they accomplished something when they lock the gun user out of bullets. So both players, the enemy and the user, are actually having fun and they feel like they're doing something, and some other weapons just do not offer this. It's definitely a satisfying interaction on both ends of the gameplay during these small events, and if reloading becomes easier, it's going to be way more balanced and fair. I want to see more dynamic gameplay in Deepwoken which forces both players to switch their entire fighting style. Picking your stance might be better, but in my opinion, earning that stance and switching to it through combat is way more fun. That's all for now, and leave your thoughts down below. We're almost at 60k subs, and make sure to like and subscribe. Anyway, have a good one. It's punchin' time.